is Lenny Shufo, Director of Job Training, Los Angeles Valley College. And then we have Janelle Eshapar, Regional Director, Los Angeles Metro Manpower. Mr. Greg Irish, Executive Director, City of Los Angeles Workforce Investment Board. And last but not least, Dana Martin, College Director, ITT Technical Institute. Here is our beginning open question for the panelists. So, where are the jobs?
I guess I'm first. Thank you, Cynthia. First of all, I'm honored to be part of this panel and to be selected to speak on this topic that's near and dear to my heart. With this topic, first of all, Los Angeles Valley College is one of 9 community colleges in our district, LA Community College District. And any community college will offer short-term vocational training. We pride ourselves on making short-term job-related skills that produce jobs. And I think the challenge of all of us together, and I think our strength is working together with businesses and organizations, and that's kind of the challenge of our whole panel. The more we can work together, the more we can find those jobs. I like the title of Matchmaker. This is a short introduction because I want to save it for your specific questions. Matchmaker. I like that title. We've kind of reversed that order a little bit in our job training. We're kind of the business extension of our college. You hear our morning speaker, Dr. Blank, talk about there are jobs out there. There are jobs out there. Businesses are not finding people to fill those jobs. That's my challenge. I believe there are jobs, and what we try to do is work a little bit backwards. And we try to find employers. We have one of our great employers here, Metro, where we articulate with them what their needs are and then work backwards of their job skills that they're requiring for those positions to find matches for that. So it's much easier to do that if we can build our confidence in our businesses. That's the challenge for our panel and for our economy, is to build the confidence in our businesses to come forward to offer these positions to people so we can find them. But matching to the employer is a challenge because the jobs are there. And I think in this economy, our job is to build confidence in businesses and also confidence in those job seekers and match them together.
Thank you, Letty. Janelle?
I'm Janelle Echapar with Manpower, and I couldn't agree with Lenny more. Manpower is in the business of putting people to work. We work with businesses to try and find them the appropriate associates so that we can get people back in the job market. And jobs have structurally changed, and the skills that are needed to fill those jobs have changed as well. And being able, as Lenny said, to make that match and help businesses understand what type of requirements are out there, and then working with our potential candidates to help them be skilled up, to help them understand what it is that they need to be doing to try and align themselves with the businesses out there that are hiring.
You wanted sort of a free-spirited, free-flowing point-counterpoint. And usually I'm the optimist, but there aren't jobs out there. Okay, we're talking about specific jobs where you can't fill them, yes, and certain people needing certain skill levels. The unemployment rate in the city of Los Angeles is 14%. 260,000 people are out of work in the city alone. Not the unincorporated areas, not the other cities, just in the city of LA. That's how many people are out of work. Now, for every person that's applying for a job, there are 8 applicants for every vacant job. Now, we know skill levels are down. We need to increase skill levels to get people jobs, but there aren't enough jobs out there right now. Let's not ignore the economy. We're currently coming out of a recession. Main Street has not experienced us coming out yet. Quite frankly, the financial markets, well, as today they're doing pretty well, and yesterday they did pretty well, but we know there aren't enough jobs. And you're right, the structure of the workforce has changed. The environment where we actually produce work has changed. There are contract employees, et cetera, but wages have been suppressed, wages are down, and there aren't enough jobs to meet demand.
Well, Greg, thanks for that softball, I'm going to tell you. Well, Greg, when 14% unemployment, that means that 86% of people are working, and there are jobs out there. The question is matchmaking, and that's why it is such an appropriate title for this panel, finding the right candidates for the right jobs and doing that matchmaking work. So let's put some perspective on this. My grandma used to own a chicken farm. And if you ever seen chickens feed, they scratch real hard to get the feed up from the dirt. And so when the food is scarce, it's that chicken that scratches the hardest is the one that's going to get fed. So this is the same way. It's matchmaking in that sense. Earlier this week, I was listening to Stuart Waldman's favorite radio program of John and Ken. If any John and Ken fans out here, you know how much Stuart really loves that show. And there was the CEO of a company out of Colorado called PowerBridge. Now, PowerBridge makes a unit that organizes all of the cables that come out behind your TV set. So you have a flat screen you put up on your wall, and it organizes those cables. So it seems they got a big contract with Best Buy. And the CEO ran an ad in the paper, got hundreds of resumes, sat there, went through all of those resumes, and personally contacted and scheduled interviews with 40 candidates to work the assembly line at PowerBridge. The day for the interviews came up, all 40 were on the same day. You know how many people actually showed for that confirmed interview? One. One person that had a confirmed interview actually showed for that job. You know, that kind of thing is inexcusable, and we can debate the social influences and political and economic reasons for that kind of behavior. But for us, any one of us up here, we're matchmakers, whether we're a public institution, a private institution, a staffing agency, we are matchmakers, and we can help alleviate that sort of pain by getting the right candidates to the employers, finding the right people for the right jobs, and doing that power of matchmaking. So I hope that's what you come across with and leave here today with.
Dana, I'm going to start the questions with a question for you. The California economy is rapidly changing. So what is ITT doing to train workers for these new industries?
All right, so what ITT is doing to train workers for a rapidly changing environment in the labor market? Well, before I answer that, I want to answer it in a broader perspective, but I got to hit my pet peeve here. I want to tell you what ITT is not. We are not a vocational school. We are not a trade school. That is not what we do. We offer associate and bachelor degrees. They are academic degrees. And the biggest difference between us and one of the public institutions is I don't have 120 different degree programs. We have 10. We are indeed very career focused on what we teach, and we're held accountable for the job placement, and we focus heavily on that job placement. So we're matchmakers every day, day in and day out. Want to know more about education? Come to the Education Committee for VICA on December 8th. I invite all of you to attend. It's a great meeting. And we are going to explore for-profit a little bit more. In regards to workforce development, a couple of key points. Back to your unemployment rate. Nationally, unemployment rate for those with a bachelor degree in 2010 was 5.4%. For those with a high school diploma, it was 10.3%. For those with less than high school, it was 14.9%. I think we can all acknowledge that education translates into higher income and a lower rate of unemployment. So while there are many similarities between the education institutions, there are some key differences. A bachelor degree tends to be a little bit more general in focus, more management in focus. Graduates with a bachelor degree tend to be less volatile in the labor market in terms of unemployment. with schools like ITT, where we have a very career-focused or an associate degree program, or even schools that offer trade certificates, we tend to be very focused in what we're providing in our graduates to the employers, but it is a little bit more volatile. There's no question. If you have an electronics technician and the job market for electronics technicians is drying up, those graduates are going to be a little bit more susceptible to the volatility in the labor market. At the same time, schools like ITT, we are very nimble, we're very quick, we adapt to the changes in the labor market very readily, and within 3 months we can either add programs, cancel programs, or modify our curriculum to satisfy the employers.
Thank you for starting us off with the first question, and now I open it up to the audience for questions.
Okay,
Mr. Cooper, no, wait. Wait a minute. Mr. Cooper is recognized.
The Economist magazine said that one of the problems in America is that there's a mismatch between what educational institutions are teaching and training people for and the kinds of jobs that industry needs. And I guess this is really a question directed to Lenny and Dana. A, do you agree with that there is that mismatch? And if it is true, how do we address it?
Dana, I'll start. I think Dana touched on it a little bit, Marty, because he talked about being able to be flexible. I think every educational institution, as Dana talked about ITT, having the ability to be flexible and maneuver to change to a need. I think we need to be flexible, and we need to involve not only longer-term educational programs, but flexible workshop entities to meet business needs right away that will lead into educational offerings. I know I'm not answering your question right off the bat, but I think all of us have the ability to change quickly to meet an employer's need, but there's also that longer-term educational entity that meets the longer need too. I think in our economic environment, we need to have both. One has to lead to the other. And you might find a job in between and then start with that educational to supplement that job later on. So with our program, it's all not for credit. We work very closely with the WIBs and the workforce centers to meet those short-term needs with our employers.
And thanks for the question there, Marty. But we've got the term I think we need to look at with the student debt load that graduates are walking away with today, whether it's private or public, the debt load is tremendous. It's that return on the investment. What is the return on the investment for that education? And is it valuable? What is it? Within those associate degree programs, those career-focused programs, it's perhaps a little bit easier because we are, in fact, held accountable by that, by the Department of Education. But we look at the salaries earned over a period of time, and there's a formula that goes into place. Are the students going to actually earn an income level that makes puts value on that degree in terms of that? There's some problems with those formulas and getting it down to that scientific fact. But it's a step in the right direction to take a look at that return on investment. I think we got to back up even into grade schools and high schools and the way that we're counseling. It's one thing, there is a great need for liberal arts, obviously. We need that. We need to explore those degrees, and students need to be able to pursue those degrees. I don't know how you gauge return on investment on a degree like that. I'm not quite sure how you do that. I do know how we do it in our industry. But we need to start looking at that and counseling people to say, okay, I understand that you want a liberal arts degree. You understand that you want to go get this degree. But what is your long-term goal? What do you want to do for careers? Start providing some really solid leadership and counseling at the youngest levels, that we have a thought pattern of where we're going as students and where we want our students to go, because we have a workforce and we have needs out there that we need a skilled workforce, and we need to make sure that we're gearing our young people to grow up and to satisfy those jobs that are going to get us back to the moon and to Mars and beyond. So it starts at a very, very young age, and we do need to have those formulas, and we do need to look at that return on investment, both from a consumer perspective and from an educational institution.
Yes. Janelle or Greg, do you want to take that?
Let me try that, because it's interesting, and I can actually share a personal experience. My daughter's a senior in high school, and we had the discussion today because she's applying to college, and she says she wants to major in psychology, and I said, oh my God, she's going to live at home. So all of this about there are jobs out there. There are jobs out there, but there aren't enough jobs. We need to create now. It used to take 125,000 jobs, a month in the United States just to keep up with people being added to the workforce. Because of the recession, we lost millions of jobs. It now takes 300,000. We haven't caught up. We have not caught up with the need to create jobs. Hopefully we will. And of course, there are some jobs, but it won't deal with the volume of people who are out of work. That's a reality. The second thing is I'm trying to convince her not to go into psychology because, again, most college kids are living at home. They cannot find jobs. City attorney has a unit of 20 actual attorneys who are volunteering their time in hopes that they can get a shot at a real job. In my office, I have 5 new staff members, not paid, all have advanced degrees, saying, please, my God, just let me work for you for free. Hopefully you can give me a job. And again, we're seeing the change. It's a good way because actually I hired 2 of them that were interns with me last year and they're permanent employees now. So that's a good way when we talk about matchmaker of getting a job. The issue is, again, we've got to create jobs. We know the value of an education. We know those folks are going to find jobs. They're going to try to meet the needs of what is already out there. The issue is the majority of people don't have that benefit of having a highly skilled, they're highly skilled and having degrees, et cetera. I didn't go to a workforce center to find a job, yet I fund you, because the majority of people don't have that as a benefit. As to education, I think the entire form of the way we educate people is changing. I went to college. Now we have folks who are learning online. We've got folks who are actually, as part of their learning experience, are being placed in a work environment because it's totally different. It's the equivalent of going to law school and then going out. You still have to take the bar exam. You have no idea what it is to practice law until you get out there. Education has to change. It is. I fund some of these programs, including Lenny's, where he actually combines experience on the job as well as classroom experience as well. When you see that change, you can meet the needs of employers. But the other thing is, education has to go out and talk to the employers, because the way we used to educate people, unless we go and talk to the employers, the curricula has to change to match the needs of employers. I have someone on the board, my board, who is a vice president for one of the major hotels, actually one we're in, and she actually went to one of the colleges, one of the community colleges in the area, and looked at their hospitality training and says it does not relate to anything she needs in terms of employment. So there's got to be different employer associations that sit down with community colleges, and we have a vice chancellor here that does it very well. Cheeto, are you here? In terms of connecting employers to the various departments he has with some of the community colleges to design and structure some of the curricula so that it matches what is needed by employers.
Thank you, Greg. The next question, lady on the end. Janelle?
If I could say something to that point, one of the biggest complaints that we hear from businesses is that the people they're looking for lack soft skills. They lack critical thinking skills. They lack public speaking. Exactly to your point, that a lot of them may come with technical skills, but they're looking for a more well-rounded candidate that has both. And I think that we've seen a lot of success with businesses that are willing to take on an employee that has some of those skills and coach them and teach them the specifics they need to be successful in that role. And we're seeing a lot of the really successful businesses taking that onus on training, that one-size-fits-one training, and really working to make sure that that employee has the specific technical skills they need, as long as they already come in with some of those soft skills that you're discussing. So I think that's a very, very valid point.
No, thank you for the question. No, it's just a misperception that people will come to ITT and they think they're coming into a trade school with a 6-month certificate program, and that's not what we do. That's all. I've run both schools. I've run automotive programs, electricians, plumbers, HVAC. I've run those schools, and now I'm running a degree program school. So we all need mechanics. We all need electricians. We need those skill sets. Tremendous value for those programs. Fully support them. If I may make one comment regarding yours, it feeds into this.
Her last name is Irish, by the way.
Irish?
Yeah. There's a coincidence.
There has to be a blend between academic and trade and vocational type educations, even at the high school level. And so that goes both ways. We can't necessarily always put a value on and say, well, we got to go more skill sets. But we don't go enough that direction, quite frankly, in K-12 education, in my view. And there's been some studies. I believe it was in Boise several years ago. They had a huge dropout rate, low graduation, and they brought in a trades-based curriculum at the high school level. And the students took academic degrees in the morning. In the afternoon, they went to another school, and they learned automotive. They learned electrical. They learned plumbing. What was interesting about that is that at the end where they graduated, the graduation rates were higher, but the students who went the vocational track actually went to college at the same rate as those students who went the academic track. Now that's very interesting, but they were more engaged at the high school level than they otherwise would have been, and many of those students would have dropped out. So I think we do need to sort of break the mold and break some of these barriers to where we are so focused about every student must go to college and you must go to UCLA. Well, what if they don't get into UCLA? So I do think we need to look at other options.
Yes, on the end. I'm sorry, can everybody hear you? Maybe you should stand up, please. Thank you. comments? Comments from the panel? I'm sorry, I'm going to take this gentleman in the gold tie and then you next.
As an employer, and the unemployment being allegedly so high, in 2001, in the same industry, I had an applicant flow that was just unreal. I didn't have enough jobs for the applicants. Currently, allegedly with higher unemployment, I don't have any applicants. The applicants I do have, can't read, can't write, can't think, and basically when you tell them the job set isn't that difficult, that's too much work. There's a basic disconnect in society, and not to cast any blame anywhere, it's just a basic disconnect in society. It's very frustrating as an employer because I have job ranges from $10 an hour to $20 an hour, $25 an hour. I can't fill any of it. I had an $18 an hour job, and I had 250 resumes. I whittled it down to about 30. My client and I went through those. We scheduled interviews. Half of them didn't show up. And I know unemployment's high, but it's like, as an employer, it's really frustrating because I can't offer to provide my services because I don't have the employees, but I have jobs.
Magdalena.
I think Lenny-
Actually, Magdalena is a work services person. Don't let him out of the room.
I'm gonna ask you, what industry is that?
Yeah.
Security. John, can you, we can help you out.
Yeah, we can help. Magdalena, don't let him get out.
I'd like to comment if I could, please, and he beat me to giving you my card. I was going to do the same thing. I want to touch on several comments. Magdalena, who runs a workforce center in the Valley, talks about the seasoned person. Greg talked about volunteerism, and we all talked about writing and math. In job training, we look ourselves as a bridge to the educational programs. 90% of what we do incorporates English and math. And you're all right about the lack of knowledge, but we're talking about those seasoned people trying to get employment. Now, you can't solve the education problem in one swoop here. We can't solve all this thing, but we can try to get those people jobs and encourage them to take notice that they are inefficient in those areas, and we incorporate that. Also like to comment on soft skills. I think there's a lack of soft skills in all of our education programs. We just got, and Paul was one of our instructors, we got back from Baxter Bioscience, and they wrote the curriculum. We did 300 people, all soft skills, attitude, leadership, problem solving, and they wrote it, and we conducted it. So those are seasoned, employed people. We need to incorporate all those soft skills. Even if there is a lack of English and math, that's going to assist them in getting a job. So we can't solve the education problems right now, but there are jobs. And Mr. Shaznoff here will tell you at Metro, we need to be creative as a group here and have a seamless transition in getting those people jobs. And we need to meet your needs too. And we've done that with Metro, and according to his statistics, saving $5 million. So we all need to do that.
because businesses want that. They're willing to train if it's somebody that has those skills.
You know, we spend 50, we're currently, and Magdalene is part of the delivery system, we have a system of work source centers, they're job centers. We're spending $50 million, the city of LA, this year on job training, job screening. So if you have to screen applicants, Magdalena can screen applicants for employers and get you viable candidates.
I'm sorry, sir, down there. You.